Dr. June Park adjusted his communication device, scanning the vast conference hall filled with medical professionals from across the galaxy. The room hummed with a low vibration of anticipation, holographic screens flickering with complex medical data and research presentations. He was different from the other attendees. His pale blue skin, slightly translucent and marked with intricate neural network patterns, made him stand out among the diverse alien species. As a senior medical researcher from the Chirolian Medical Guild, he had attended hundreds of conferences, but something felt unusual about today's symposium. The conference hall was located on a massive space station orbiting a neutral planet, strategically positioned to allow representatives from multiple star systems to gather safely. Massive windows revealed the endless darkness of space, punctuated by distant stars and the soft blue shimmer of energy shields protecting the station. Dr. Park adjusted his professional medical robe, a garment signifying decades of scientific achievement. His colleagues respected him as a conservative, methodical researcher who rarely showed excitement. Today, however, something was brewing beneath his typically calm exterior. A human presenter stepped onto the holographic stage. Dr. Elena Kim, a young human researcher with sharp eyes and confident posture, began her presentation. Unlike previous speakers who used complex technical language, she spoke with a clarity that immediately captured everyone's attention. Her first slide showed a patient who had survived multiple organ failures, a scenario that would have been considered impossible in traditional Chirolian medical practice. The human medical team had used a combination of nanotechnology, genetic reconstruction, and what seemed like pure intuitive understanding of biological systems. Dr. Park leaned forward, his neural sensors tingling with genuine curiosity. The presentation wasn't just about medical techniques. It revealed a fundamental difference in approach. Where Chirolian medicine followed strict protocols and mathematical predictions, human medicine appeared to blend scientific precision with an almost emotional understanding of healing. The holographic images showed patients from different species, some never before successfully treated together. Humans seem to view medical treatment not as a technical procedure, but as a complex, interconnected process involving psychology, environment, and individual variation. One particular case caught Dr. Park's attention. A critically injured patient from a methane-breathing species had been saved using a method that defied all known medical guidelines. The human medical team had essentially rewritten the rules of intervention, combining technologies and techniques that would have been considered experimental or even dangerous by Chirolian standards. Dr. Kim's presentation continued, each slide challenging established medical understanding. She spoke about adaptability, about seeing beyond statistical probabilities, about treating each life as uniquely valuable. Her words were simple, yet they carried a profound philosophical weight that resonated across the conference hall. Around Dr. Park, other alien medical professionals showed various reactions. Some looked confused, others appeared dismissive, but a few, like him, watched with growing fascination. The humans were presenting more than just medical techniques. They were showcasing a revolutionary approach to understanding life itself. The presentation concluded, Dr. Park realized something fundamental had shifted in his understanding. The rigid, mathematically precise medical approach he had dedicated his life to suddenly seemed limited, almost primitive compared to the human method. The conference hall erupted in a mix of applause, murmurs, and heated discussions. Holographic displays continued to show remarkable human medical interventions, each one more incredible than the last. Dr. Park stood silent, his neural patterns shifting in a way that signaled deep, transformative thinking. Something was changing, not just in medical technology, but in his entire perception of what healing could mean. The humans had introduced a concept that went beyond technical skill, a holistic, compassionate approach that saw medical treatment as an art form as much as a scientific discipline. Dr. Park knew in that moment that his life would never be the same. The conference had become more than just another professional gathering. It was a turning point, a moment of revelation that would challenge everything he thought he knew about medicine, life, and the universe itself. As the other conference attendees began discussing and debating, Dr. Park remained still, his eyes fixed on the now fading holographic images of human medical miracles. A quiet revolution was beginning, and he was at its epicenter. The medical demonstration zone was a controlled chaos of controlled panic. Dr. June Park watched with intense concentration as human medical professionals prepared for a complex rescue scenario. The room was filled with advanced equipment, but what struck him most was not the technology, but the human team's communication. Dr. Hyun Cho, a lead emergency specialist, moved with a grace that defied the high-stress environment. Beside him, nurses and support staff worked like a single organism, anticipating needs before they became critical. The patient was a rare multi-species trauma victim, a diplomatic courier who had survived a catastrophic space incident. The patient's body was a complex puzzle. Half of their biological systems were incompatible with standard medical protocols. Most medical teams would have declared the situation hopeless. But the humans saw something different, a challenge to be solved, not a lost cause. Dr. Cho began by doing something completely unexpected. Instead of relying solely on advanced medical scanners, he spoke directly to the patient. His voice was calm, explaining each step, providing comfort, even when the patient was barely conscious. This approach was fundamentally different from Chirolian medical practice, which viewed patients as biological systems rather than sentient beings. The medical team used a combination of technologies that seemed almost magical. Nano-reconstructive devices worked alongside traditional medical tools. A junior nurse mixed what appeared to be common chemical compounds, substances that would have been considered too primitive by Chirolian standards, into a complex treatment solution. Dr. Park watched a procedure that defied everything he had learned in decades of medical training. When standard life support systems failed, the human team didn't panic. They improvised. A cooling device typically used in agricultural research was adapted to stabilize the patient's critical systems. A communication device was modified to regulate neural impulses. The most shocking moment came when Dr. Cho used what looked like a simple handheld device, something that would have been considered a basic diagnostic tool in Chirolian medicine. But in his hands, it became a precise instrument of healing. He manipulated the device with an intuition that seemed to go beyond technical training. Around the medical team, holographic displays showed complex biological data. But unlike traditional medical presentations, these displays seemed alive, dynamic, changing with each moment of intervention. The humans were not just reading data, they were interpreting it, feeling it. Hours passed. The team worked without showing signs of fatigue. They rotated responsibilities seamlessly, each member understanding the other's thought processes. No formal communication seemed necessary. They moved as a unified entity, each action precise and purposeful. Dr. Park noticed something extraordinary. The medical intervention was not just about saving a life. It was about preserving the patient's dignity, their essence. When the patient showed signs of distress, Dr. Cho would speak softly, adjust his approach, show a level of empathy that went beyond medical training. As the critical phase of treatment concluded, the impossible happened. The multi-species patient stabilized. Not just survived, but showed signs of full recovery, a scenario that would have been considered statistically improbable in any other medical system. The room erupted in a quiet celebration. No loud cheers, just a collective sense of accomplishment. Team members exchanged knowing glances, a communication more profound than words. They had done more than save a life. They had challenged the very understanding of medical intervention. Dr. Park felt something shifting inside him. His neural patterns, typically calm and analytical, were experiencing a form of emotional resonance he had never felt before. The human approach was not just a medical technique. It was a philosophy, a way of understanding life itself. The patient, now stable, opened their eyes. Dr. Cho was there, holding their hand, explaining what had happened. The touch was more than a medical procedure. It was a connection, a reassurance that transcended species and biological differences. As the medical team began their post-intervention documentation, Dr. Park realized he was witnessing something revolutionary. This was not just about saving lives. This was about understanding life in its most complex, beautiful form. The demonstration was over. But for Dr. Park, everything had changed. The universe suddenly seemed larger, more compassionate, more incredible than he had ever imagined. The small apartment felt different that evening. Dr. June Park stood by the window watching the artificial cityscape of his home planet. His communication devices blinked with dozens of unanswered messages. His colleagues, his family, his entire professional network were trying to understand his sudden decision. He had submitted his resignation from the Carolian Medical Guild. The document was simple, direct, without elaborate explanations. 27 years of medical service, reduced to a single digital form. His research, his reputation, his entire professional identity, all dissolved with a few digital keystrokes. His mother called first. Her holographic image flickered with disappointment and confusion. "You want to leave everything for humans?" she asked, her voice a mixture of disbelief and concern. His father, sitting quietly in the background, said nothing, a more profound statement of his disapproval. The Medical Guild Senior Council sent a formal communication. They offered him a prestigious research position, a chance to continue his distinguished career. But Park understood something fundamental had changed within him. The medical demonstration he had witnessed was more than a professional revelation. It was a personal transformation. He began sorting his belongings. Years of scientific equipment, research journals, personal artifacts. Each item now seemed like a relic of a previous life. He would take only the essentials. His most important scientific documents, a few personal photographs, and a small device containing his life's research. The financial implications were significant. Leaving the guild meant losing not just his position, but his entire financial security. He would need to sell most of his assets, requalify in a completely different medical system, and start over. Most intelligent beings would consider this professional suicide. But Dr. Park felt something he had never experienced before: complete freedom. The rigid Carolian medical system, with its mathematical precision and emotional detachment, suddenly felt like a prison. The human approach to medicine represented something far more profound: a holistic understanding of healing. He contacted immigration services for Earth. The process was complex, requiring multiple verifications, medical evaluations, and extensive documentation. Most alien species found human immigration protocols challenging, but Park was determined. His colleagues tried to convince him he was making a mistake. They sent long messages explaining the risks, the potential career destruction, the cultural challenges. But Park had seen something during that medical demonstration that transcended professional concerns. He remembered Dr. Cho's hands moving with intuitive grace, the way the human medical team communicated without words, how they saw each patient as a unique story rather than a collection of biological data. This was more than a medical technique. It was a philosophy of life. Pack by pack, he prepared for his journey. Each item he selected carried a memory, a piece of his previous life. His research on interstellar medical techniques, which had once been praised in academic circles, now seemed limited and narrow. The communication device rang again. This time, it was his mentor, a respected senior researcher who had guided his entire career. "Are you certain?" the older Carolian asked, his holographic image showing genuine concern. Park simply nodded. That night, he dreamed of human medical teams, of patients being treated with compassion, of a medical system that saw healing as an art form. His neural patterns shifted, displaying unprecedented levels of emotional complexity. By morning, his decision was final. He would go to Earth. He would learn their medical techniques. He would understand their approach to healing. The cost was irrelevant. The risk was nothing compared to the potential of discovering a new way of understanding life. As the first light of dawn broke over the artificial cityscape, Dr. June Park looked at his packed bags. A journey was beginning, not just across space, but into an entirely new understanding of what it meant to be a healer. The universe, he realized, was far more amazing than any medical textbook could ever describe. The immigration center looked like a massive glass structure floating between Earth and space. Dr. June Park stood in a long line of alien species, each waiting for their chance to enter human territory. His documentation was perfect. But perfection meant nothing in the complex human system. Immigration officers examined his files with suspicious eyes. An alien medical professional wanting to completely restart his career? This was unusual. Most aliens sought specialized positions, not total professional transformation. Park had sold everything: his research collection, his family home, his advanced scientific equipment. The money was carefully converted into human currency, stored in secure digital accounts. He carried only a small bag with essential documents and a few personal items. Language was his first challenge. Human medical terminology was different from Carolian communication. He spent weeks studying medical English, practicing pronunciation, understanding cultural nuances. Simple words became complex puzzles. The medical certification process was brutal. Written examinations tested not just scientific knowledge but cultural understanding. Park studied human medical history, learning about pioneers like Jonas Salk and Florence Nightingale. These were not just names but representations of a medical philosophy he was beginning to understand. Practical examinations were even more challenging. Human medical training required hands-on experience, emotional intelligence, and adaptive thinking. Park's traditional Carolian training had prepared him for mathematical precision, not human-style intuitive healing. He failed his first certification attempt. The evaluation team appreciated his advanced scientific knowledge but noted his emotional approach needed significant improvement. Park didn't get discouraged. Each failure was a learning opportunity. Living expenses in human territory were high. Park took part-time teaching jobs, translating advanced medical concepts for alien students. His unique background became an unexpected advantage. He could explain complex medical ideas from multiple perspectives. Language classes became his second home. He learned not just words but cultural expressions, medical slang, the way humans communicate beyond literal meanings. His accent slowly changed, becoming a blend of his original speech and human pronunciation. Survival wasn't just about passing examinations. Park had to understand human social systems, their approach to professional development, their unique way of viewing medical care. Every conversation was a learning experience. His alien background became both a challenge and an opportunity. Some human medical institutions were skeptical. Others saw him as a unique candidate with extraordinary potential. Park remained patient, persistent, understanding that cultural integration takes time. Nights were spent studying. Mornings were dedicated to practical training. Weekends involved volunteering in community medical centers, gaining practical experience. He was no longer just a researcher. He was becoming a true medical professional in the human system. Financial challenges were constant. Immigration requires substantial funds, and Park was burning through his savings. But his determination never wavered. Each small victory, understanding a complex medical term, performing a successful practical examination, felt like a major achievement. Human medical mentors began to notice his unique approach. They appreciated his scientific background combined with his growing emotional intelligence. Park was learning that medical care wasn't just about treating diseases, it was about understanding human experiences. Cultural shock was real. Human medical teams worked differently. They discussed patient cases over coffee, made jokes during high-stress situations, showed emotional connections that would have been considered unprofessional in Carolian systems. 1 year passed, then another. Park's transformation was slow, but steady. His medical certification was no longer just a goal, it was becoming a reality. He was learning to see medicine as humans did, a complex, beautiful dance between scientific knowledge and human compassion. The journey was challenging, but every challenge made him stronger, more understanding, more human. Dr. June Park was no longer just an alien medical professional. He was becoming something entirely new, a bridge between different medical philosophies, a translator of healing approaches. His dream was slowly becoming reality. One examination, one experience at a time. The emergency room buzzed with controlled chaos. Dr. June Park adjusted his white coat, now perfectly fitted after months of wearing human medical attire. Metro City Hospital was different from any medical facility he had known before. His first official shift as a fully certified human medical professional felt like a milestone. Around him, doctors and nurses moved with a synchronized energy that still amazed him. Dr. Elena Kim, who had first inspired his journey, worked nearby, a constant reminder of why he had chosen this path. A multiple trauma case arrived. Multiple patients, different species, complex medical needs. In his previous life, such a scenario would have triggered immediate systematic protocols. Now he saw something different, an opportunity to help, to connect, to heal. "We need a central line for the Martian diplomat," shouted Dr. Hyun Cho, the lead emergency physician. Park's hands moved quickly, his alien biological understanding combining perfectly with human medical techniques. Where Carolian medicine would have seen complications, he now saw possibilities. The patient was critical. A diplomatic transport had experienced a severe atmospheric incident. Multiple species required different medical approaches. Park recognized this as the exact type of scenario that would have been considered impossible in his previous medical system. His neural pathways, once rigidly structured, now worked differently. He could process medical information with both scientific precision and emotional intelligence. The human approach to medicine was teaching him something profound. Healing was more than technical intervention. Hours passed. The emergency team worked like a single organism. No formal commands were needed. Each member anticipated the other's actions. Park had learned this was called intuitive teamwork, something completely foreign to his original medical training. One patient stabilized, then another. The Martian diplomat, whom most medical teams would have considered beyond saving, showed promising recovery signs. Park's unique combination of alien scientific knowledge and human compassionate approach was making a difference. During a brief moment of calm, Dr. Kim approached him. "You've changed," she said, smiling. "You're not just treating patients anymore. You're understanding them." Park reflected on his journey, leaving his home planet, selling everything, facing constant challenges. All of it had led to this moment. He was no longer just a medical professional. He was a bridge between different medical philosophies. The hospital administrator had been impressed with his work. Park was now developing training programs that would help other alien medical professionals integrate into human medical systems. His research papers were gaining attention in multiple scientific journals. As the shift concluded, Park looked at his hands. They had performed complex medical procedures, saved lives from multiple species, bridged impossible medical challenges. The rigid Carolian scientist was gone. In his place stood a true medical professional who understood healing was an art. His communication device showed messages from his home planet. His family, once disappointed by his decision, now showed curiosity. His mother had started reading about human medical techniques. His father had forwarded research papers about his work. The emergency room gradually calmed. Patients were stabilized. Medical reports were completed. Park watched his colleagues, humans who had become more than just professional associates. They were friends, mentors, a new family. He thought about the medical conference that had changed everything. That single presentation by Dr. Kim had transformed his entire understanding of medical care. What seemed like a radical decision years ago now felt like the most natural progression of his professional life. A young nurse approached, asking for his guidance on a complex case. Park smiled. He was no longer just learning. He was now teaching, sharing his unique perspective. His journey from a conservative Carolian researcher to a human emergency room physician was complete. As he prepared to leave, Park understood something fundamental. Medical care wasn't about following strict protocols. It was about understanding life in all its complex, beautiful variations. His transformation was more than a career change. It was a philosophical evolution. The night shift began. Another opportunity to heal, to help, to make a difference. Dr. June Park was ready.